Hi everyone, it's Michelle and welcome back to another Notion video. Today I'm going to be showing you my 2022 Notion setup and how I've been using Notion to achieve my goals in 2022. If you've seen any of my previous Notion videos, then you'll notice that my 2022 setup is pretty similar to my setup in 2021, but I did make a few tweaks and I'm going to show you all of them today, give you a full complete tour, and hopefully it'll give you some inspiration as well. And I'm also excited to say that this video is sponsored by Notion, so thank you so much to Notion for sponsoring today's video. It has officially been over 1 year since I've started using Notion, and I've been using it every single day to help me organize my life. And I hope that you guys would try out Notion as well if you haven't already. You can sign up for Notion using the link in my description box. So thank you Notion for sponsoring today's video. And with that being said, let's jump into the tour. Alright, so quickly before we really jump in, I just wanted to mention that I am using the free version of Notion. I'm using the free personal version, and everything that I'm going to show you today, I did completely free. I didn't spend a penny on anything, so I know I got a lot of questions about that before, so I just wanted to clear that up. I am using the free version, and you'll be able to duplicate my entire Notion workspace as a template, so that way you can use everything yourself. So I will leave a link to my template in the description box as well. And now let's jump into the tour, starting with my homepage. So here's what my homepage looks like. I actually used to call this my dashboard, but I switched it this year because I just feel like home is more fitting and it's more cozy feeling, which I like. But anyway, this is where I have all of my links to all of my pages, and you can see that I also went with like a beige theme this year. I didn't really have a theme last year, but this year I went with a beige theme. And all the images that I use throughout my Notion, like all of the images here and like throughout all the other pages that I have, I found on Pinterest, which I also saved to a Pinterest board. So I'll also link my Pinterest board in the description box if you're curious. So I have all of my pages separated into little categories. Under daily, I have my agenda, content planner, habit tracker, and journal. These are all pages that I access pretty much daily. Under life, I have my 2022 goals, my monthly reflection, dream life, and bucket list. And under personal, I have my shopping list, recipes, notes, and a page for symbols, emojis, and emoticons. So yeah, that is my homepage. But I will say that after a year of using Notion, I realized that I don't really come to my homepage that often. I don't really see this page too much on like a regular basis. I usually just access all of my pages using this sidebar on the left here. But you know, I still wanted to give my homepage a little refresher this year. It just felt like it needed one. Plus, it's just nice to look at, and I like it. So I'll go through each of these pages as well, and we'll start off with the agenda. So here's my agenda at a glance. At the top, I have a weather widget, and this used to be on my homepage, but I felt like it was more fitting to move it to my agenda because I look at my agenda pretty much every single day, first thing in the morning, and I also want to know what the weather is going to be like pretty much every day. So it just made more sense to move it to my agenda. And then we have my new week button, which I formatted so that, you know, whenever I'm trying to prep for a new week, I just need to press this button, change the heading, open the toggle, and then my weekly agenda is already formatted and ready for me to use. And you can check out my previous Notion video, my 2021 Notion tutorial video, if you want to see a more in-depth tutorial on how I set this up. That video will be linked in the top right corner or the description box. So this spread is the exact same as it was before. I still put my priority tasks at the top above the divider, and below the divider I put my other lower priority tasks. That way I can separate what I really need to do versus what I should do, if I have time. And then scrolling down, I have this other section where I just keep like reminders for myself. So for this weekly tasks column, I would literally just jot down anything that I do on a weekly basis. It's usually like household chores like laundry, grocery shopping, Swiffer the floors, water the plants, stuff like that. And then for this next week column, I'll basically just drag any tasks that I have from the current week down into this column if I'm like, okay, well, I don't actually need to do that this week, so I'll just drag it down here so that I remember to put it back in my weekly agenda for the following week. So for example, let's say I was supposed to get dinner with friends on a Tuesday, but we ended up having to cancel and we rescheduled for the following week Tuesday instead. I'll just like move this to do to the next week column, and then, you know, on Sunday when I set up my next week's spread, I'll set up my new spread, change the heading, whatever. I can just drag this and drop it under Tuesday. And it's super easy. And the same concept goes for the next month column here. Just anything that I'm like, oh, I can do that next month, or oh, this is coming up next month. I can jot it down here and remind myself to do that for the following month. And then I also have my archive down here, which is where I drop all of my old weeks. So whenever one week ends, I'll just click this toggle to collapse it, and then drag it into the archive. So here's what the archive looks like. And when you drag an old week into the archive, it'll show up as a list all down here, and you'll be able to go back in and see any of the tasks that you had to do for previous weeks. But I'll be honest, I haven't actually had to go back in here and actually use this feature. I just think it's nice to have, like, just in case, you know? And then this last page is just a list of ideas for fun things to do. So it's just a simple list of things to do around the city, because my boyfriend and I always say we should do something new this weekend, or like, let's do something fun, but we never know what exactly to do. So this is where I can just keep a running list of ideas, and then I can look back at it during the week and be like, okay, let's visit the Exploratorium this Sunday, and then add it to my weekly agenda. And yeah, that's it for my agenda. So now we can move on to my content planner. So I am a content creator on social media, so I like to have some sort of organizational system to help me keep track of all the content that I'm creating. So that's why I created this content planner page. And it looks pretty blank right now, my calendar, but that's because this isn't like my real calendar. I just created this for like example purposes for you guys. But I did change my system a little bit from last year, but let me just give you an overview of everything first if you're new. So on the left here, I have links to all of my social medias. They're just like quick links so that I can easily access any of my socials if I need to. Below that is a list of any collabs that I have, either upcoming, ongoing, or previously done. And then to the right is my master content calendar, and this content calendar would show all of the content that I have planned for all of my platforms. But when I say all my platforms, I really only mean like YouTube and TikTok. Those are the only two platforms that I plan my content for. I don't do any planning for like Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. But I made this one so that you can see all of the pieces of content and which platform they're for, and also which day they're going live. But if you scroll down even more, I have some project trackers, one for YouTube and one for TikTok. And both are pretty much the same, they work the same way, but I have a table for ideas and a table for my content calendar. So I have some like example videos that I slotted in. So, you know, if I have a video idea, I can just add it to either the table or the calendar, and it'll show up on both. So let's say I want to film a Valentine's Day video on this day. I can add the title, change the status to need to be filmed, and even add in a template that I created. This template was heavily inspired by Thomas Frank. He posted a template like this in one of his videos, so I just like adapted it to my needs. And then this is where I can fully plan out my videos. But then if we go back to the calendar, you can see that the idea is showing on the calendar, and it was also added to the table here. And let's say I wanted to reschedule the video, move it up 2 days, then the date will also automatically update in the table. Or maybe if I even wanted to move it up a week, it'll also update again. And that's because I have this table sorted by live date ascending, so it'll automatically update. And I can even change the date here as well. And the change will also be reflected in the calendar. These changes will also be reflected in the master calendar that I have above. And that's because these are linked databases. And I went over this in more detail in my previous video, but I'll give you a little tutorial here as well. So if you don't know, each of these tables, boards, timelines, calendars, lists, and galleries, these are all called databases, and you can link one database to another, which is what I did here. So what I did was I had to create this master calendar content planner first, and then create a linked database table and a linked database calendar. And both of these are linked to the master calendar. And it's actually really easy to do. All you have to do is type /linked, create linked database, search for your database. So I would search for content planner, select it. And now I'm gonna try to replicate this table up here. So what I'm gonna do is add a filter so that I'm only showing videos meant for YouTube. So you can create a filter where the platform is YouTube because we're under the YouTube project tracker section. Then I'm going to click the three dots, go to properties, and choose which properties to show or hide. I know that we're in YouTube. I know that this is for YouTube, so I don't need to show the platform, but I do want to see the status of the video. So we'll toggle that on. And then I also want to make sure that it's sorted by live date, which it already is. And then I'm just going to adjust the column sizes. And that's it. Now you have a linked database that shows only your YouTube video ideas with the live dates and the status. And again, you can like add a new idea here as well, set the live dates and set the status from here as well. And let's say I wanted to recreate this calendar that I have. All I would need to do is add a view and add a calendar view, click create, and now we see that it's in a calendar view. Now I want to create a filter again so that it only shows me YouTube ideas. So let's add a filter, go to platform. Platform is YouTube, and now it took away the TikTok videos. And then I also want to go back into properties and toggle on the status. So now I can see at a glance all the videos that I have for YouTube and the status of each of them. So it's pretty easy to do, and like I said, they're all connected as well. So one change that you make to one of the databases will be reflected in the other databases. I also really like it because I like to have two different views of visualizing my content. And I should also mention that the new YouTube idea that we added does not show up in our TikTok calendar because I did the same thing where I created a filter so that the TikTok calendar only shows videos meant for TikTok. But whatever I do in any of these databases will show up on the master calendar. But that's what I want. It's a master calendar. So I want to see everything that's going on. So the same thing goes for my TikTok project tracker. I can add a new video idea. Let's say like, I want to film a try on haul. I can set the status as well. And I also have a TikTok template, but I don't really use it, to be honest. I feel like my TikToks don't usually need that much in-depth planning, but it's there if you find it useful. And then if I click out, there is our idea. And there it is as well in our table. And if we scroll up to the master calendar, it also shows up. You can also make changes in your master calendar and it'll be reflected in each of the individual calendar databases as well, as you can see. So that's pretty much how I set up my content planner for this year. I think my old one was not as organized as this one, but this one feels way more organized and simple to use. So yeah, hopefully you guys find it helpful as well. Now let's move on to my habit tracker. So I'll be honest, I don't really use my habit tracker as much as I'd like to. Even when I was bullet journaling, like before I even started Notion, I never really used my habit tracker. I'm just not very good at filling out things like this. I don't know what it is, but sometimes I do want to take note of like what I ate for the day or what my skincare routine was if I'm like testing out some new products or something, or if I have any other random notes for the day that I want to remember. Like maybe I have an eczema flare-up. I want to take a note of that and then also keep track of like my diet, see if that had any correlation. Then I'll do that. But yeah, I really only use this once in a while. But I do still think it's a good idea to have, and I know a lot of people do like using things like a habit tracker. So this is the one that I created. It's very basic, but I also simplified it so that instead of putting like the month in this column, like instead of typing out February 1st, February 2nd, February 3rd, I just have the number instead. I think in my last video, if you saw that, then I went through this whole thing with like creating a whole Google sheet with all the dates of the year, and I would copy and paste it in. But like that was way too extra. But yeah, this is just my very simple habit tracker. I don't keep track of a lot of things either, but it is super customizable, so you can change all of the headings based on what you want to track, and you can even change the column type. If you want to change it, you just need to click on the heading, go to property type, and choose from one of these. And then once a month ends, in order to create a tracker for a new month, I'll just duplicate this table. So my shortcut is to hold down the Option key, click the 6 dots, drag, and release. and this will create a new tracker, and then you can rename this tracker to the new month. And then what I do with the old month is I'll go down to my archive, create another line, name it whatever the past month was, and then drag the old tracker into the toggle. So now when you click the toggle, you'll see the old habit tracker there. And here's an example of like a filled out habit tracker. This one is from like early 2021, and I actually didn't end up filling out all of it. But yeah, that's kind of what yours would look like if you do fill this out every single day. Now let's go on to my journal. It's pretty much the same as my 2021 journal page, but I just switched up the images, and I also have like a sample entry here. So if I were to create a new journal entry, I would just tap this plus new button here, add the date, and then I sometimes click this new entry template which I created. This just brings up a little template that prompts me to help kind of guide my thoughts, but sometimes I don't feel like doing this, so if I don't feel like doing it, I just won't, and I'll just type out whatever I'm feeling instead, just like word vomit. It just depends on my mood for that day, you know? And then if you click out of this, whatever you type, you'll have a little preview of it here in these little windows, and that's because I set this to be a gallery view, but you can create other views, like you can have it as a list instead if you prefer that, or any of these other views if you prefer. But I like the gallery view because I like seeing a little preview of my entry. Now let's go on to my 2022 goals. So this page is also pretty much the same format as my previous one. And first off, let me talk about the cover photo. I just made a little like vision board using Pinterest and Canva. So first I went onto Pinterest, found all the images that I wanted to use to visualize my goals for this year, what I want my year to look like. And most of the images are about health, home, personal growth, finance, career, relationships, travel, hobbies, and some quotes in there as well. So I used 23 images here, but I would just save a few more just in case. And then I went to Canva and created a 1500 by 300 pixel canvas, dropped all the images in, resized them, played around with the placement, saved it, and uploaded it to my cover photo. And this is the way it turned out, and I really like it. I also kept this little call out here which holds my theme for the year, and for this year I wanted to focus more on selflessness and learning about others, how things work, my environment, and the world. And that's because basically last year in 2021 it was like one of my favorite years so far, honestly, because I focused a lot on myself, learning about who I am, what I like, and I put most of my effort last year into my own personal growth and happiness. And I did that because I was so miserable in 2020 and I like didn't do anything for myself. But because of that, I feel like 2021 was kind of a selfish year for me. So this year in 2022, I kind of want to flip it and focus more on others and growing my relationships with other people and just like expanding my knowledge on things other than myself. So that's the theme for this year. And then I broke down each goal into categories. So you can make them whatever you want. But for me, I have health, relationships, financial, lifestyle, career, creative/hobbies, and travel and adventure. And for each goal, I just made a few bullet points listing out each goal for each category. And I also added a photo from Pinterest to kind of go with each category. But yeah, those are all of my goals. And then at the bottom, I also added a new section, which is a letter to myself. And I took this from someone else's template, but I can't remember who exactly. I'm so sorry, I don't know exactly who I got this from, but if you do know, leave it in the comments below. But I thought it was a cute idea to write a letter to yourself, paint a picture of what your life looks like right now, read this back at the end of the year, and see how far you've come. So I have it in this toggle, and I have not written my letter yet, but I do want to do this so that I can see how different, or same even, my life is a year from now. It does remind me of being in school. Like, did your teachers ever make you write letters to yourself and then you would read them at the end of the school year? Yeah, I never wanted to do it then, but now I'm like, yeah, that's actually pretty sweet and sentimental and kind of cute. So I'm definitely gonna work on this later, and I should probably add it to my agenda to remind myself to do it. But yeah, that is my 2022 goals. I would say remember to try to make your goals specific and like realistic for yourself, but also don't be afraid to push the limits and like challenge yourself to step out of your comfort zone, you know? Write down things that maybe you're like, I don't know if I can do that this year. Just write it down. You never know. A lot can happen in 1 year. So now let's move on to my monthly reflection page. This is just to do some reflections every month to check in with ourselves, see how things are going, see if we're, working toward our goals. And this is just a little prompt that I created. But again, you don't need to use this. Sometimes I don't even use this, but this kind of helps to give more structure to the reflection and help you just like work through your thoughts and feelings. And then I made this so that you can just click the new month button whenever you're getting ready to reflect on a new month. So you can just click this button, rename it, open the toggle, and then fill it out. And then at the end of the year, you'll have all of your reflections in these little toggles that you can easily look back on. Now onto my dream life page. I took a lot of inspo from Twirling Page's video and her template. She had a dream life page, so I took some elements from hers and added it to mine. But basically this page is to help you visualize and manifest your dream life. Like, what do you want to be doing in your most ideal life? And what are you doing today to create that dream life? So I'm honestly not really finished with this page, but here's what it looks like. So at the beginning, I have this section that says, in my dream life, and then a list of all of the things that I envision for myself in my dream life. I also have some motivational quotes on the side that really resonated with me, and I especially like this one on the right-hand side that says, don't lose your joy by trying to live a life that looks good on the outside. Protect your joy by living a life that feels good on the inside. And underneath that are some steps on how to create your dream life. So I just Googled this one day and found this list and dropped it into this page. I think I did this a few months ago when my boyfriend and I were like, what are we doing with our lives? And just like having an existential crisis. But yeah, I thought this provided some guidance on how we could create our dream life and make it a reality. Clearly, I haven't done anything with this yet, but I will. And I think this is one of those things where the hardest part is just starting. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with my dream life page. There's a lot of work to do, but that's why it's our dream life, right? There's a lot of work to be done to get there. So now moving on to my bucket list. This has not changed at all. It's just a simple to-do list of things that I want to do and things that I have done at the bottom. Pretty straightforward. Now onto my shopping list. This is for me to keep track of anything that we need to buy from like the supermarket or from Costco. I have another list for miscellaneous things like band-aids. And I also have a list for any gift cards that I have because I hate when I have a gift card and I forget to use it. And then underneath that is a table for things that I've ordered, things that I have coming in the mail. So I ordered some artwork from Do Pearl Art. And I also ordered some frames from Amazon. So those are coming soon. And then when I get the tracking number, I'll just add it here. And I also have another table below that for my wish list. So like any items that I want to buy sometime in the future. Oh, I just realized I put the same thing twice, but you get the idea. But then if I do end up ordering whatever is in the wish list, I can just drag it into my order table and add the tracking. Now for my recipes, this is exactly the same as before, where I have recipes listed out under meals, snacks, and to try. I also labeled them so that I know if it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And then I also sorted it so that everything is nice and categorized. And I'm always forgetting recipes, so I always reference the recipes that I have here. And then if I want to add a new recipe, I'll just click the new button. Like maybe we made ribs, and then I can choose the type, which is dinner, and then add in any links or copy and paste the recipe into this section. So pretty straightforward. And now onto my notes. This is just where I store any random thoughts or ideas, like my packing list or any gift ideas for people. It's basically just my virtual notebook, and my real notes page is actually flooded with random notes, random ideas. This is just simplified for example purposes for you guys. And lastly, my symbols, emojis, and emoticons page. This one might seem really random, but it's just for funsies and for easy access because I always find myself wanting to use these like cute cute emojis or like cute symbols to just like spice up some text for like an Instagram post or a YouTube video. So I'll just come here and copy and paste whatever I want into whatever I'm trying to use it for. I also linked some websites with other symbols and emojis that I like. It's also how I made my homepage look like this with all of the little sparkles next to it. But yeah, it's really just for like aesthetic purposes. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I use this page for. And that also brings us to the end of the tour. That is my entire Notion workspace and how I've been using Notion to achieve my goals in 2022 and keep my life organized. I will link both my 2021 template and this new 2022 template in the description box so that you can duplicate it and add it to your workspace. I hope you found it helpful, and check out my other Notion videos. I did a Notion 2021 tour, a Notion tutorial, and an answering your common Notion questions video as well. All of those will be linked in the description box too. There's going to be a lot of links there, so I'll try to make it as clear and organized as possible. But if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. I will try to get back to as many as I can. And also huge thank you to Notion for sponsoring this video. Clearly, I love using Notion and I think there's something for everyone, whether you're using it personally or with a team. I think it's such a powerful tool to help you prioritize your life, achieve your goals, and organize the important parts of your life. So sign up for Notion using the link in my description box. And that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!